Hello, everyone. You are welcome to 16 Days, 16 Voices. So today we are going to be shining light on an issue that can no longer be ignored. And that is that sexual and gender-based violence is not just a personal tragedy. It is actually a human rights violation. So joining us today is Genevieve Partington, a passionate feminist, a human rights activist, and the director of Amnesty International here in Ghana. She has dedicated her life to fighting injustice, amplifying silent voices, and holding power to account. So today she's going to be taking us through why this can no longer be ignored or treated as a personal tragedy, but a human right violation. Hi, Genevieve.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you for coming out. I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
All right, so let's get straight into it. In Ghana, usually gender-based violence is discussed as a family issue. Oh, it's a family issue. Let's not talk about it. Everyone will laugh at the family. Let's keep it in the family. And why must we begin to see this as a human rights violation instead of, a family thing, a personal thing?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, it's beyond family dynamics, but we look at it as a family issue because most of gender-based violence is usually committed by a close family member or extended family. So this is very high. The statistics are high in Ghana. They're usually not strangers. Right. However, due to our culture, we always feel we have this rape culture where we normalize it when it's a family member. Yeah. We don't want the family member to go to jail or be in prison. But it goes beyond that. It is a human rights violation. There are international laws and treaties that Ghana has signed onto, like the CEDAW and Maputo Protocol. Yeah. So, and we also have our own local laws here. And it's a shame that victims are re-victimized, survivors are re-victimized because of that issue. So, it just goes beyond family dynamics, and it's something that needs to be reported, and we need to encourage more reporting.
Right. So you talked about, the key conventions like CEDAW and the Maputo Protocol. Yes. But from Amnesty's perspective, where are the biggest gaps between, these commitments that Ghana has actually signed and the real accountability?
Yeah, so I guess that really has to do with resources in Ghana. We do not really have functioning shelters. I think that's one. And then in terms of the justice system, I believe law enforcement officers are not necessarily gender sensitive when it comes to these issues. They do receive their training. I know DOFSU is doing their best, but they lack resources. And like I said, the enforcement of the law, you already said that people want to keep it in the family. Even religious organizations, I don't want to mention any specific ones, but when it does happen, they kind of pray for the person and forgive. They ask the family member to forgive this person.
So they pray for the abuser or pray for the perpetrator?
They pray for the perpetrator, and that person is forgiven. It's a very weird thing, unfortunately. It doesn't just happen in Ghana. So all these barriers are what are causing challenges in Ghana. Again, law enforcement. Then when people report that they've been abused, now the process, it really drags from the time you report at DOFSU to the time you get to court, to the time you get the medical report from the hospital. All those things drag the matter, and then it becomes pricey as well. Right. We've spoken a lot about the medical report not being free. It costs from around 200 cedis to 2,000 Ghana cedis for a medical report.
For a sexually abused person.
Yes, it does. And under the law, it's supposed to be free. They say medical treatment. That is the problem. Our law, Domestic Violence Act, specifically states medical treatment. But also medical officers are arguing that the report is not part
the treatment.
Yes.
So basically you pay for the treatment. I mean, pay for
the treatment is free. So the rape kits and everything is free, but you pay for the report. And I mean, that's a whole thing. So, I mean, these are a lot of the key challenges. You talk about the domestic violence, the fund. There's basically barely nothing in there.
Right.
So the Ministry of Gender is highly, highly under-resourced. Meanwhile, that is where government has to push more resources to protect especially women, because that's the highest rate of abuse cases.
Right. So with this abuse cases, institutions like DOVSU actually stole these reports, and people find it so frustrating, annoying to go through that process, and everything just looks like a joke or a sham sometimes, because I have personally experienced it. It wasn't my own case, but I was called to help a little girl and her mother, and, the little girl was violated by her neighbor.
Yeah.
And the mother, she's just a poor widow. They didn't have anything. And I was called like, okay, this happened here, and I think it was Waja. So we had to drive all the way there, went to the family. When we went to DOVSU, I wouldn't call any branch, but when we went to DOVSU, everybody was like, oh, please, forget that case. Please, forget that case. Really? But the minute I said, sorry, I'm media, I'm interested in this case. Oh, sorry, the case, so for people like this, for people who have no one to speak for them, for people who have no media person to speak for them, or no someone on top to speak for them, this is very frustrating. And how can we fix some of these institutions to be, survivor-centered?
Yes.
And not always who brings the money to sweep it under the carpet.
So, I mean, I would like to play the devil's advocate. But again, I've also experienced that because I've been working in the gender-based violence field for a long time. Sometimes the law enforcement officers you meet there are also helpless, because one, there's no resources. If they are going to investigate a case or go and talk to someone, they need a car to go, transport, and then most of the time they don't even have the transport to go. If they have the vehicle, they need fuel, and most likely they don't have fuel.
Right.
So I think in a way they are also discouraged, not to say it's the best, but unfortunately what government is doing is they are not investing resources into DOVSU, which they actually need to prioritize. I mean, there are other instances where, they feel discouraged sometimes because on several occasions they get cases where family members are involved.
Yes.
And the cases are dropped.
Yeah, because
so I think based on experience, they're like, oh, you let it go, that kind of thing. But it really shouldn't be the case. They need to be more gender sensitive, like I said, and need to be more receptive of dealing with these cases. I also get where they are coming from. They've just seen so many and nothing is being done. So I believe that is also where the issue is. When you start talking about, you need to get a medical report, go to the hospital. Most of the time, from what I hear from DOVSU, when they send people to the hospital to get the medical report, they don't come back because it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating for the survivor to go through that process. Yeah. So, it's really sad. I know now there's a survivor, one-stop shop at CID for survivors. I know they are trying to put in more courts for children so that, it's more isolated. They feel safe sharing their testimony and things like that. So I know that is happening, but it's not happening across the nation. So that needs, there are some in Accra, some in, a few other places, but it needs to be everywhere. Yeah. So that's the problem. And you can imagine.
Apart from being everywhere, I think there also should be awareness so people know.
Yes.
Because you can't just say it's happening.
So what Amnesty International Ghana does is we do a lot of public education on reporting. How do you report? I feel sad, telling women and other, because men and boys go through it as well, but telling people how to report and how to protect yourself,
Well, how do you report?
So reporting, in terms of reporting, first of all, if you are sexually assaulted, you're not supposed to shower. you need to go straight to the hospital for it to be recorded. This is very difficult for survivors because you can just imagine the trauma you've been through, and then you have to go and talk to a doctor, tell him what happened to you, and it's very harrowing.
Yeah,
it's a lot. And then after that, you have the medical report. Sometimes the medical report is not ready there and then. They'll tell you come back in 2 hours. It's a lengthy process. And then after that, you go to DOFSU and present the medical report and your case, where they will take the police statement. So that is basically the how to report.
Right.
And then we also talk about safety measures. And then also, if you're a third party that has witnessed or you've seen something wrong happening, what you need to do as well.
Right.
So these are some of the things that Amnesty we talk about. And we have a big campaign on sexual consent, because that's a huge issue on campuses in Ghana, where persons are being drug raped. And there's a lot of, dropping things into people's drinks, and people just being out of it for a few hours and not knowing what happened to them.
Yeah.
And this is happening on campuses. So we have a huge campaign around sexual consent as well.
Wow. Well, it's the 16 days of activism, and throughout this time, that's from the 25th of November to the 10th of December, I'm sure we're going to be seeing different posts on social media about these issues, and usually during this time, UN puts out statistics of different countries, or of different continents, sometimes countries, but sometimes Africa, there is always not enough data. And then I even read that Ghana's last comprehensive survey on domestic violence was conducted some years ago. That's 2022. So that leaves a huge data gap.
And even that, it was just after COVID, and there's a whole argument about, there weren't so many cases, but people were locked up in their houses. Maybe they didn't have opportunity to report.
Right.
So personally, I don't think that data is correct. Because the data shows that there's less sexual abuse in 2022 in Ghana, which is not true. So again, I feel like COVID plays a huge role on that, because imagine people being locked up in their houses, and if the abuse is happening in your house, how are you going to report this? Where there's zero avenues, to escape. We need to invest in data. Statistics are very important, and I feel statistics will, move us into a better place to address the issues. We'd be more willing to, see the reality on the ground, that this is really happening. I'm shocked sometimes when I go online and I tell people 1 in 3 women have been sexually assaulted in their lives globally. And people don't believe this. People don't realize that most homicides in the States are committed by an intimate partner. All these things are very, very real and serious. And sometimes you're gaslighted to believe that this is not happening. But let me tell you, it is real. Gender-based violence is real, and we need to take it more seriously, especially in Ghana, where power dynamics are a huge issue. Women are abused, and power relations are the huge thing. So, for example, if you have, an uncle, sexually assaulting you, it's the fact that we respect our elders in society, and we shouldn't. This is somebody who is part of the family, well-respected family member. Power dynamics. When you look at the young women in the rural areas who need sanitary pad, but have to give out their bodies just for that, it's all sexual exploitation. It's all abuse. And I always say, I want to end with this, that sexual abuse, you don't have to hear the word no. No is not just the answer. Even the body language shows that somebody is not interested. Do not force yourself on this person. It's as simple as that. And I know we do. So men are always like, what about the men? Well, what about the men? we women, we always speak up for ourselves. So you should also do the same. If you feel men are being sexually abused, you also have the platform to do that. So why is it that when we bring it up, you always have to bring up, what about the men?
Right.
Yes, they are also part. And it's also bad if a man or a boy is sexually assaulted.
Right.
Both are wrong in all aspects.
Right. Yeah. So this year's theme for the 16 days of activism is end digital violence against all women and girls. And obviously everybody is on social media right now, and we've seen so many things go on social media. What responsibility do we all have in protecting women and girls?
So online, you can be a perpetrator without even knowing. And you can also be a survivor.
Without even knowing.
Yes, because sometimes people put things online and don't realize they instigate people to be violent or to encourage people, and rape culture. When for example, the Ghanaian footballer was accused of sexual assault, everybody was like, oh, that cannot be possible. And I'm like I'm sorry, people.
Women abroad are always doing this to our footballers.
And you can't say that. Were you there?
Exactly.
Let's see how it plays in court. Let's see what evidence they bring up. And that's the other sad thing about rape. When you are sexually assaulted, most of the time nobody else is there. So where is the evidence? And it's you against the world. So I believe that people need to be more empathetic online. That's one. We also need to take safety precautions online. There's a lot of cyber stalking going on. There's a lot of
blackmail,
revenge porn, where maybe you may send a picture. So I just advise everyone, just don't be sending nudes to anyone. I don't do that. You won't catch me. Even if you are my boyfriend or something, I will not send you nudes. It's like the most dangerous thing to do on a phone. It's just not safe. People can share it. People can get access to the information, can be put on your cloud. People may have access to it. Don't do it. But the other thing is that Ghana has a Cybersecurity Act. And in there, it does state that you're not allowed to do those things. However, implementation is the problem. I know when you go to Cybersecurity Act and everything, they definitely take those things up. But again, court cases drag. So, people need to be aware of the laws. You're actually not allowed to do that. Revenge porn is a crime in Ghana. And there needs to be more stringent measures. And unfortunately, people use this as a way to exploit survivors, but not just heterosexual, but it's also homosexual. So what happens is that people try and message persons who are suspected to be gay, and maybe they might send something and then they use it against them and exploit them. So these are mechanisms that perpetrators use. They also disguise themselves as young people under 18. Meanwhile, there's probably a 50-year-old speaking to you online. So we need to be very careful who we open our social media spaces to and who we engage with. I've personally received threats. People have, because I support the LGBT community with my work, or because of being a feminist. I've had people in my DMs threaten to rape me, come to my house and rape me, and this is not okay.
What?
Yes, this is absolutely not okay. So online can be very, very dangerous. So we need to be more careful, even as women, as young people. What we do online, what we put out there, but also the kind of people we're engaging with. Yes. And I feel like influencers have a huge role to play. You have such a large platform.
Why not speak about some of these
things? Speak about it. Yeah. What, do you have to be paid for everything? Like, you have a platform, use it. Once in a while, let's talk about 16 days. We are coming to do 16 days of activism. Speak about it. Use your platform to talk about gender-based violence.
That's the problem, because like you said, everybody wants to be paid as influencers. And, usually the influencer, lifestyle here in Ghana is just focused on things like fashion, food, parties, being in the, in the limelight.
Yeah,
basically.
but even parties like 16 days of activism is very close to Dirty December.
So why
as an
not?
influencer, I think you should be talking about how you can be safe during parties. Be careful with your drinks. Don't leave once you leave your drink on the table. Do not come and drink it again.
Exactly.
I don't care if you are with your best friend. Like, you can't trust people like that. I've heard very horror stories about young women who were with friends they've known with 4 or 5 years, and they were the ones putting, date rape drugs in their drinks for other young men to sleep with them.
And you know the funny thing?
So we need to be careful about this.
Talking about drinks and date rape drugs, I never thought I would be like someone who would feel it. I never thought I would be like a victim to that, because I was with my friends. And then we were clubbing, and then something. I don't know. I took my head off for 1 minute, and I think something was put in my drink. I ended up at Nyaho Clinic.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Because like everything was moving around.
Yes.
Everything. I was like, what is happening? I was literally crawling. And my friends, luckily, it was not like any of them, but maybe I think we knew the guy later on. But they saved me, because if they were not there, I don't know what would have happened.
And let's encourage that culture of escorting our friends to the bathroom.
Ooh.
Do not whenever, even at my age, when my friend says I'm going to the washroom, I'm like, yep, I'm coming with you. We don't do it alone. Never ever go to the bathroom alone. Right. This happened when we were students at University of Ghana, and I made that mistake. I went to the car. My friend was like, oh, she's dying to pee. She has to go to the bathroom. This was Rhapsodies at Accra Mall. She went to the Accra Mall bathroom, and someone opened her stall with full force and tried to pull off her jeans, and she was begging that the person doesn't touch her. She came to the car so shook. So that was the day I told myself, I am not going to allow any woman I am with to go to the bathroom alone. It is the most dangerous thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't care what age you are. You can be 50, 70, you can be 10 years old. Do not go to the bathroom alone, especially in social settings.
Right. And I want to shout out to my friends for that, because that day they saved me.
Yeah.
I was really literally crawling on the floor. I had to.
So sorry about that. Yeah.
And I was.
We're just glad you're safe.
I I thought I was going to die, and I went to the hospital. They were like, "Oh no, like drugs." I'm like, "I don't do drugs. I only drink alcohol. I don't do drugs." But anyway, we thank God for good friends. So now, if you had a direct message to the Ghanaian policymakers and institutions, and of course young people, what will be that single most urgent step in Ghana to take to end gender-based violence?
Invest more resources into shelters. Invest more resources into women. I mean, if you look at the Ministry of Gender's budgets, you will cry. It's very, very sad. We need to push more money there.
Right.
And we need to train more judges, more law enforcement officers. We need to invest in that training. I believe through that, and then also through public education,
right,
just ensuring that this whole thing about harassment, I think I didn't speak enough on this, because we see in Ghana, harassment is seen as you should be accepting of it. When somebody says, oh, hey, your bum is looking nice today, like they'll say it in tree, you are supposed to be receptive of that as a woman.
Thank you.
No. I don't stand for it. Yeah. And they call me an iron lady because of that. I'm Genevieve is too harsh. But please, as men and women, let's stop commenting on women's bodies.
Exactly.
It's none of your business whether I've put on weight or I've lost weight. None of your business. Whether my ass is big, flat, round, square, it's none of your business. Let's start with that. Let's start with, my office wife, your lips are looking juicy today. As women, we just tolerate it and put a little smile on our face, again, because of power dynamics. Maybe we don't want to sound disrespectful to whoever is passing those comments. But please, men out there, I'm appealing to you, stop this. It is sexual harassment. It is wrong, and we need to stop it now.
All right.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking to Genevieve Partington, a passionate feminist, human rights activist, and the director of Amnesty International Ghana. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
And there you have it. See you on the next episode.